Have you ever soaked your pillow with tears just because your mind wouldn't quiet down? Because some issue, some person, some memory was eating you up from the inside? Have you seen those nights when your eyes were closed, but your mind was racing thousands of miles? And the most painful thing is that person, that mistake, that past moment is no longer in your life, but it's still renting space in your mind? We have all at some point held on to something, a relationship, a hope, a wrong decision, even ourselves. And this grip is so strong that it breaks us. The heart says, maybe one more chance, maybe they'll change, maybe I'm wrong. And in this maybe, we lose our sleep, our peace, and even our identity. But the truth is, the more we hold on, the more we sink. Have you ever seen this while swimming in the ocean? If you thrash around, gripped by fear, you'll sink. But if you relax yourself, surrender, you'll come to the surface. You'll float. This is the art of letting go. The art of letting go, surrendering, trusting yourself. Nick Trenton's book has told millions of people worldwide that letting go is not defeat. It is wisdom. It is courage. It is healing. This book tells us that when we hold on to the past, we lose the power of today and the light of tomorrow. We keep thinking, why did I do that? Why did they do that? Why am I always the one getting hurt? But there's no end to questions, and answers never come. That's why we don't need answers. We need freedom, and that freedom comes when we learn to let go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means giving your heart permission that it will not break anymore, telling your mind that it will no longer be a prisoner. It is assuring your soul that it has enough strength to smile without anyone. We think, then think a bit more, then think about thinking, and then replay that one thing repeatedly, 1,000 times, like a broken record stuck at the same spot. I wish I hadn't said that. What if they are thinking that? Am I really good enough? These questions have no power, but they grip us. They steal our sleep, our peace of mind, and the smile from our faces. This is overthinking, the mind's jail, a jail whose bars are built not from the outside, but from within. A jail where you are both the prisoner and you are the jailer. You are the one who punishes yourself every day for things that have already happened, for things that are not in your hands, and for people who are no longer a part of your life. Nick Trenton explains this point beautifully. Overthinking is an illusion within us. We think that the more we think, the better decisions we'll make, or we'll understand something new. But the truth is, overthinking is not thinking, it's self-torture. It's the voice that keeps saying, you're not enough, you are wrong, nothing will change now. And then we keep falling into that pit. Most of us spend more time in our mind's replay room every day than actually living life. We think, if I had said something a little different that day, if I had forgiven them, if I hadn't left my job. These are all hypotheticals that will never happen and can never happen, but they still steal our sleep. Trenton says that overthinking is born when we give more space to fear in our search for clarity. We think that the more we think, the more control we'll get, but actually, we lose control. And the worst part is that it all becomes an invisible cycle. You get tired, but you can't stop because this mind jail starts to feel comfortable. At least it's familiar. But now the question arises, is it possible to get out of this? The answer is yes, and its first door is awareness. When you catch yourself saying, I'm going into that thought loop again, that's where freedom begins. Awareness means observing your own thinking, not judging it, like watching a movie. Just watch, don't react. It's knowing that, yes, this is a thought, but this is not me. And this awareness slowly starts to break down every brick of that invisible jail. Now imagine if every time your mind raced, you could gently stop it. What would happen? Imagine your mind not as a wild horse, but as a calm lake where everything is clear. Wouldn't you want to be that person? The second weapon to conquer overthinking is presence, living in the present. When you focus on your breath, listen to the sounds around you, feel the ground beneath your feet, you give your mind a task. Be here, be now. Trenton's message is clear. Your mind is an amazing tool, but it is not the master. You are. And when you decide, enough is enough, I will not torture myself anymore, you take the key to that jail into your own hands. You must remember that thinking habits are not formed in one day.
nor will they disappear in one day. But every time you stop yourself, redirect yourself, you weaken that habit. This is a practice. Just like you work out daily at the gym, this is a mind gym. And most importantly, you are not alone. Millions of people around the world are living in this same pain. They just don't talk about it. But if you are listening to this and feel that this is your truth, then understand that change has begun. We are humans, but we treat ourselves like machines. We want everything to be perfect, every answer to be correct, every relationship to run smoothly. And if something goes wrong anywhere, the mind panics. Why did this happen? What mistake did I make? Why is this not in my control? And this is where a war begins, not with the world, but with ourselves. We feel that if everything is under control, we will be safe. But Trenton says this hunger for control is actually the language of fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, and the biggest fear, the fear of looking weak. How many of us have thought that if I become perfect, everyone will love me? Or if I don't make a mistake, no one will leave me? In this thought, we create such an illusory world of perfection where we constantly cook ourselves like a pressure cooker. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. There is no such person who is perfect, yet we expect that from ourselves. And when we cannot fulfill that unrealistic expectation, we curse ourselves. You are not capable. You will never be enough. Trenton tells us that a person who chases control and perfectionism is actually looking for peace, but instead, they buy restlessness. Because the things you want to control are often the most uncontrollable. Other people, their attitudes, circumstances, time. And the more you hold on to them, the more they slip away, like holding sand in your fist. The tighter you hold it, the faster it slips out. We feel that if we do everything right, life will be easy, but the opposite happens. We forget to laugh, become afraid of making mistakes, and become so obsessed with everything that life becomes a burden. We start expecting perfection even from the people who love us. Why did they say that? They should have understood. If they loved me, why would they do that? But we forget people are human, not scripted characters, and relationships run on acceptance, not control. Now think, if you could accept someone or something with its imperfections, how much lighter would the burden be? Have you ever seen a child who smiles even after making a mistake because they know that mistake is not their identity? But as adults, we are so strict with ourselves that even a small mistake breaks us from within. We punish ourselves for everything that was not in our control. But Trenton says a very simple truth. Acceptance is the antidote to control. This means that when you start accepting things as they are, not as you would want them to be, then true peace comes. You start forgiving others, circumstances, and most importantly, yourself. And then you feel that life doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Have you ever thought how one bad thought can ruin the mood of the whole day? A small thing, a small comment, or someone ignoring you, and we magnify that thing 100-fold inside. Then from one thought to another, from the second to the third, and before we know it, we are trapped in a storm where there is no one else, only us, fighting with ourselves, losing to ourselves. This is the negative thoughts viral, that mental swamp where the more you try to escape, the deeper you sink. Nick Trenton gives it the perfect name, mental loops. These loops form when we hold on to every little thing, like repeatedly scratching a wound. We think, why did they say that? What if I had said something else? Are people thinking badly about me? And these questions never end. Every thought opens a new door, but behind that door is not peace, but even more restlessness. What actually happens is we make our thoughts our identity. If fear comes into our mind, we consider ourselves fearful. If jealousy is felt, we consider ourselves vile. If comparison happens, we feel we have lost. But Trenton says these thoughts are not you. They are just the mind's job, to connect things, to question, to see dangers. The real you is the one who is watching these thoughts but not drowning in them. The first step to breaking this spiral is naming your thoughts. As soon as a negative thought comes, catch it and say, okay, this is fear, this is comparison, this is insecurity. Just saying, I am thinking that, gives you a little distance between the thought and yourself. And this distance gives you back control. Awareness is liberation. When you cannot stop a thought, start recognizing it. Imagine if someone came to you and said, "You are useless." You would get angry. But when the same thing comes from within you, you believe it to be true. Why? Because it feels like your own voice. But in reality, it's your conditioning. Everything you've heard, endured, suffered, and now it has become your default. To cut the negative thought spiral, you will have to make an active effort. This is not a passive process. It's like you have fallen into a pit. If you do nothing, you will fall deeper. But if you find a small grip, a positive thought, a pause, a deep breath, you can pull yourself out. And this is the lesson. Not every thought needs to be identified with. Trenton tells a powerful technique, pattern interrupt. Whenever you feel that a storm of thoughts is coming, do something that shocks your mind. Say loudly, "Enough," or clap your hands, or immediately get up and start walking. This creates a current breaking in the mind, and you can get out of that loop. And once you take back control, you can decide which direction to think in. Have you ever noticed that we tell our friends, "Don't think like that, you are good, don't pay attention to what they say," but we never have such compassion for ourselves? Why? You are also human. You also have the right to take care of yourself, understand yourself, forgive yourself. And when you do this practice daily, slowly your mind starts to rewire. You start coming out of automatic negative thinking. And then what was once broken begins to heal. Those who once ran from fear can now sit in peace. To love, to connect, to care are some of humanity's most beautiful strengths. But when this connection becomes a need, when someone's mood starts to determine your mood, when someone's late reply steals your sleep, then understand that it's not connection, it's attachment. And when attachment becomes unhealthy, it's no longer love, it becomes a prison. Nick Trenton says a very deep thing. Emotional detachment does not mean disconnecting, but rather being in balance.
It doesn't mean becoming a stone. It doesn't mean you don't care at all. It simply means you don't make someone else's presence a condition for your happiness. When you learn this, you become your own best friend. We often assume that to love someone deeply means to take on their every mood, every decision, every problem. But this is what exhausts us. We put so much burden on our heart that it starts dragging instead of beating. Then, whether it's a relationship, a career, or a dream, when we make its outcome our identity, failure becomes the cause of breaking. Trenton teaches us that we should connect with efforts, not outcomes, because outcomes are not in your control, but effort always will be. Emotional detachment is not running away. It is a conscious decision to connect with someone without losing yourself. Because when we live emotionally invested in everything, then everything starts to hurt. Someone seeing your message and not replying, someone's tone being slightly different, someone being busy, everything starts to feel personal. And we think, did I do something wrong? Do they not need me anymore? Am I not enough? This is where detachment comes in handy. It provides that mental space where you can ask yourself, is this really about me, or am I just overthinking? Detachment gives us that distance where we respond, not react, where we face things but don't let ourselves become part of that storm. Trenton says clarity never comes from chaos. When you are entangled in every emotion, nothing looks clear. But when you stand a little apart, when you pause, when you allow yourself to ask, what do I really want? Am I more connected to myself than to someone else? Then clarity comes, and with clarity comes freedom. The true meaning of emotional detachment is that you learn to take responsibility for your own peace of mind. You don't have to depend on someone else's behavior for your peace. Then, whether that person likes you or not, understands you or not, you remain stable. And this stability becomes the magnet that attracts the right people into your life. Every person has a story running inside them, day and night, awake, asleep, speaking, silent. But the problem is that most people don't write that story themselves. They just live it. Someone said in childhood, "You are foolish," and that line becomes the script of a whole life. If you broke up in a relationship, the mind assumed, "No one can love me." If you failed once, you started telling yourself, "I am good for nothing." And slowly, these sentences become your identity. A human becomes what they repeatedly think about themselves. What you tell yourself in your mind becomes your truth, whether it is true or not. And this is the mental story.
The story you have heard about yourself repeatedly so many times that it now seems real to you. But the truth is, you are the author, and this story, this identity, this script can only be changed by your own pen. We've all at some point told ourselves these things. Why does this happen only to me? I am always alone. No one understands me. I don't have that talent. And all these things slowly take root in our thoughts. Then, no matter how good things happen outside, the mind always says, "No, you are not like that. You are not lucky. Bad things always happen to you." And in this way, we become trapped in our own self-made mental cage. Trenton explains that the origin of these stories is often fear. Fear of rejection, of loneliness, of failure. And we hold on to these stories because we feel they give us an identity. I have always been strong. I have endured a lot. These things sound inspiring, but when they stop you from moving forward, then they become the biggest wall to your growth. So the question is the story you have written about yourself really yours? Or are they just shadows of past moments that are still blocking your present? Trenton tells us a simple but powerful way. Observe the story, rewrite it. Catch your old thought patterns, write them down, see how much truth is in them, how much pain, and how much is just fear. And then ask yourself, can I rewrite this story? Imagine if you started telling yourself, I am learning, I am healing, I am forgiving myself, I am starting a new chapter, not an old story. Your thoughts, your energy, your face, everything will change. Because when you change your mental story, you change the direction of your future. Detachment is important, but even more important is saying goodbye to old stories, adding a new voice to your thoughts that says, yes, I made mistakes, but I am not defined by those mistakes. Yes, I was hurt, but I am not just those wounds. Yes, it took time, but now I am taking the steering wheel myself. You have to understand that your story can become your strength if you wish, but if you keep playing it on repeat, it will not let you move forward. Letting go is not a one-day decision. It is not a dramatic moment where you once loudly say, I have let go, and everything becomes light. No, the art of letting go is a daily practice. It is an exercise that begins every morning when you wake up and continues until your eyes close every night. And when you take this practice seriously, life slowly begins to change, without noise, without drama, from within. Nick Trenton reminds us again and again that transformation is not flashy, it is subtle. It is built from small habits, just 10 minutes of self-talk, 2 minutes of deep breaths, and asking yourself at the end of the day, do I feel a little lighter today? When you wake up in the morning, your mind is most impressionable. If you start your day with overthinking, phone scrolling, or comparison, the whole day will be immersed in that energy. But if you spend a few minutes connecting with yourself in the morning, by meditating, writing a few lines in a journal, feeling gratitude, then you make your mind clear, grounded, and ready. Journaling is not a fancy thing, it's just a way to listen to yourself clearly. When you put your fears, thoughts, anger, or confusion on paper, they no longer reside inside you. Trenton calls this mental decluttering, and it's absolutely true.
Our mind is also a room, and unless we clean it every day, we won't want to live in it. Gratitude is the thing that takes your mind from scarcity to abundance. When you write down 3 things you are thankful for every day, you teach your mind that not everything is bad. And only when your mind starts believing that there are good things too, will it start letting go of the bad things. But the most important practice is living in the present. Trenton says we are either living in the past or in the future, and because of this, we miss the beautiful present moment. When you are eating food, just eat. When you are walking, just walk. When you are talking to someone, truly listen. This may seem simple, but this is mindfulness, and this is where peace begins. We often think that life will change when something big happens. A job will be found, a relationship will improve, a dream will be fulfilled. But Trenton says that big changes never come from the outside, they start from within. They come from those small victories that you achieve with yourself every day. Every time you let go of a thought instead of holding on to it, that is practice. Every time you keep yourself calm instead of getting angry at someone, that is practice. Every time you listen to yourself instead of running after pleasing everyone, that is practice.
And yes, sometimes you will get tired. You will feel that I am going back to the same place. You will feel that nothing is changing. But remember, letting go is not a linear journey. It is like a wave, up and down, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy. But continuing to practice is your victory. Consistency is far more powerful than perfection. We all want to fly, reach great heights, achieve our dreams. But have you ever seen that a bird cannot fly until something is tied to its feet? No matter how much it tries, how much strength it puts in, until that bond breaks, flight is not possible. The same thing happens with us. We all want to fly, but we have carried so much baggage in our minds, so many old things, the burden of so many people's words, memories of failures, and a heavy bag of our own expectations, that we can neither run nor fly. Nick Trenton says that letting go doesn't mean hate, it means freedom. When you let go of a person, a past pain, or an old version of yourself, you are not hating them. You are reclaiming yourself. You are reclaiming your energy, which you had been spending for years in guilt, shame, overthinking, and constantly blaming yourself. When that energy comes back, clarity comes, and from clarity comes direction. Often, we think that if I forget them, was my love false? Or if I forgive, was my suffering not valid? But the truth is that letting go is never an insult to a relationship or emotion. It's just a decision that you now want to make space for yourself. When you hold on to old wounds, they don't heal, they fester, and then you carry them everywhere, into new relationships, new opportunities, in every decision you make. Trenton says that baggage is not just what you carry, it's also what you allow. This includes people's expectations, society's standards, comparison, guilt trips, toxic attachments. And the first step to lightening this baggage is setting boundaries. Not everyone should have access to your energy. Taking everyone's words to heart, trying to please everyone, this doesn't destroy them, it destroys your peace. Setting boundaries is not being selfish, it is self-care. And when you have clarity with boundaries about what you want, what you will not tolerate, and what direction you want to go in, you start returning to yourself. You become the version that no longer craves anyone's validation. Now think, if you started letting go of everything that is not yours today, those people, those thoughts, that guilt, that comparison, what would happen? Wouldn't you feel lighter? Wouldn't you be more focused, calm, and present? Trenton's last message is very clear. Peace is the new success. Now, achievement is not just money, fame, or status. Now, true victory is being able to sleep peacefully at night, forgiving yourself, and moving forward without fear. Now, real success is mental clarity, emotional stability, and an honest connection with yourself. The journey of letting go never ends, but every time you let go of something unwanted, you get a little closer to your true self. And one day comes when you stand without baggage, confident, clear, and completely free. Many people think that letting go is just forgetting someone, letting go of a relationship, or getting rid of the past. But the truth is, letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a lifestyle. It is a mindset. In this mindset, you ask yourself every day, can I make myself a little lighter today? And when you answer yes, you begin to befriend yourself. Sometimes we hold on to people, hopes, failures, comparisons, guilt so much that they become weapons against us. We smile, but something inside keeps pulling us down. We walk, but chains of old memories are tied to our feet. And then we think, why am I so tired? Why does everything feel so heavy? Why do I feel incomplete even after having everything? Nick Trenton's entire book and this entire journey just remind us of this one thing. You don't need anything, you just need to remove the old burden tied to yourself. When you let go of relationship expectations, the guilt of past events, the fear of the future, then you lose nothing, you gain. You regain that energy that was entangled in all of this. You gain the clarity that allows you to connect with yourself. You find that peace that was never outside, but was just suppressed inside. By the time you reach the last words of this audio, perhaps something has stirred in your heart. Perhaps you too have also recognized a thought that has been holding you back for years. Perhaps you too now understand that letting go does not mean losing, but standing up for yourself. So I just want to tell you one thing. From today, lighten yourself. Forgive and let go of the things that break you every day, the memories that keep you awake all night, the faces that make you doubt your worth. Don't think about what they will think. Don't think about what the world will say. Just think about what you can become if you free yourself from all of this today. Because what will remain when you let go of everything is just you, the real you, who is not afraid, who is not stuck in the past, who does not seek validation, and who finally lives freely. Every person has a voice inside that says, enough is enough. Now it's time to live for myself. Now it's time to love myself. If this audio has given that voice a little more courage to speak louder, then spread it. Share this voice with others, because many people are fighting themselves daily, and they need to understand that they are not alone. Don't make letting go a trend, make it a movement. A movement where people connect with themselves, heal themselves, and see their wounds not as shame, but as honor. Where words like forgiven, let go, and now I am for myself become strength, not weakness. I hope you liked this book summary. We will meet again in the next audiobook.